What's the plan?
We're looking
All of
for
us.
costumes for the kids.
Geometry.
So geometry just is a video game.
And mine's over there gonna be Kai.
So who are you?
Saitama.
Can I get?
Former actress Rica Peralejo hits back at critics after she and her husband Joseph Bonifacio, a Christian pastor, blew flack for joining a Halloween costume party with their 2 children.
Hey guys! So welcome to the vlog, and I have with me Mr. Bonifacio because we are gonna share in this episode our very first Halloween ever. 2023 is the year when we first celebrate our Halloween. And so we're gonna share with you in this vlog our process as a family, how we came up with the costumes, the ideas, and then also the fun parts of like trick-or-treating.
And the DIY.
And the DIY.
My gosh.
I mean, okay, so we went through so much. Oh, and then also, of course, maybe it's in your head, maybe you've heard about it. I was like on the front page. I got bashed for celebrating Halloween. So we're gonna answer that too, and maybe some of the questions that are in your head if you know about the issue. But first things first, here is our very first Halloween. Hey guys, so what's the plan? Why are we in the car?
We're looking
All of
for
us.
costumes for the kids. The boys have picked out the costume they want to do.
But it has to be made.
It's a mix of items that need to be purchased, which are good pieces, I think, na rin for them to have. And then some stuff need to be made, which is what you guys will be doing all day.
Yeah, the kids wanna do this, so we are honoring their wish by, you know, creating the costumes that they like for our last minute Halloween.
You know what I mean?
Yes, we'll just make a giant square.
Yeah. Well, this is something he came up with.
Geometry.
So geometry just is a video game.
We're done. Okay na, no? Thank you. What is this for?
For his Halloween, and it's called Geometry Dash, which you play it, and then after jump spike, and you see a portal, you get inside, and you have a spaceship trying to avoid the spike. Actually, he's making it until it gets Halloween. So this is his. And mine is over there gonna be Kai. Forever, and use one sword to attack everyone.
Alright. So, what we realized last night was this is like a health hazard.
We hated spray paint.
The spray paint was like a bad idea. Poster paint would not dry up just in time. So we weren't supposed to buy this thing, but when we fit the size of his box, hindi kakasya sa likod ng kotse. So kailangan siyang i-tape doon na sa venue. Pero yung problema is yellow yung kulay dapat ng paint ng board niya. So kailangan yung tape namin mapintahan ng dilaw. Kaya lang, hindi naman siya mag-dry up right away. So I was like thinking, okay, what is the solution? What is the solution? And then I realized that I could get yellow tape. The thing now is that we've got 13 rolls of these. Question is, aabot ba lahat ng ito dun sa lahat ng sides ng box niya? So we'll see. Alright guys, I got to buy my costume sa halagang 400 piso lang. Medyo off, pero pwede na kaysa wala. Kasi alam nyo na, kami mga nanay nahuhuli sa lahat dahil nauuna yung mga bagets. But good news, I think it's all working out for Philip. Hey guys, so here's my costume. Whoa, there's Manu, he's Kai, and I am... If you don't get it yet, guys, boom.
Can I get?
Damn.
Okay? Sige.
We're gonna be on the side of the road and we're gonna tape this through. Let's see if it works. you ready? Okay. All right, jump. Alright, it is now trick-or-treat time and we are a walking box. Good job, Philip! Bye-bye! You okay, Philip? You're doing fine?
Tell us if you need to take a break
Commitment.
or if you want to stop now.
Oh my God. Do you want this? Manu, how many ice cream have you had na?
Philip, I think
Bubbles! Okay, so dun muna sa making costume. Nagka-moment talaga kami ni Philip dun. Well, nagka-moment ako, tsaka nagka-moment si Philip. Kasi ako yung moment ko was, we were already there. Sobrang na-overwhelm ako na, oh my gosh, ang saya pala nito. Yung, this makes you feel like a kid. Yung ganyan. Yung, this is so good. How come we never did this before? Pero, ito yung nakakatawa. Kasi katabi ko yung kapatid ko. Tapos sabi ko, alam mo no, kasi hindi natin to ginagawa nung bata tayo. Tapos tumingin siya sa akin, ha? Ano ka? Palagi namin itong ginagawa. Ginagawa daw nila ng mga pamangkin ko. Tapos sabi ko, oh my gosh, asan ako? Childhood trauma na naman kasi nung bata pa lang ako nagtatrabaho na. Kaya wala ako halos childhood, guys! So anyway, so yun yung first moment. Second moment yun. Pero ito yung isa pang moment na when Philip was making his costume and he was describing what he wanted.
Yeah.
The two of us were like, no way. No.
It's too difficult.
Parang too difficult. But then, sige.
And we kept suggesting like
ways,
simpler
ways to achieve that.
Easier things to do.
So, we kept suggesting, like, first of all, we wanted just one box. He wanted...
And we wanted him to just wear it in front, like a panel.
Yan yung suggestion niya. Ako naman, bakit hindi nilang isang box, di ba? Aba, hindi pumayag. Ang gusto niya, tatlong balikbayan box sa pagdikit-dikitin because he really wanted to achieve the look of a cube. And I was really getting frustrated because nothing was working. We got spray paints and stupid me didn't think it was gonna be toxic to like do that.
This is at 10:45 p.m. mind you.
I was so stressed and I was trying to tell him that this is not gonna work. By the next day, fast forward, nag-work siya. I was like amazed because it was like he won one of the top 4 costumes in the party. I had to tell him that I'm just so proud of you for pushing back. Because that's a hard thing to do. And I reminded him that as you get older and older, we would have wise things to say and we would have like wrong things to say too. And whenever you feel like we're wrong, don't be afraid to push back. The truth is, parents are not always right. Okay, eto na tayo. So nabash nga kami. I
didn't think it was gonna happen. I expected a
me
few
too.
comments on your Instagram post about it. I mean, the usual. Lagi namang may ganon. So, okay, but I didn't think, but when I saw Inquirer posted it na, alam ko na, sabi ko, okay, this is another one of those hot button topics. This is a dog whistle for people who are eager to bash you. Some people messaged me and said, bakit pa kasi pinost? And to me, I just said, well, that's her job. I just helped them understand that is your job and there was no effort naman to convince anyone of the perspective.
Even if it wasn't naman my job, I would still have posted it because it's a part of our family thing. And the other thing in the back of my head too is I wanted to show an example to people who are probably who are on the fence. Now, I want to do it, but others say it's wrong. I wanted to encourage them that, if you want to do it, it's okay. It's not wrong. And he is going to explain to us. I want to explain, but people don't listen to like non-pastors.
Some people were very caring and we had a good conversation. Some people were very judgmental na agad or parang, ba't mo ginawa? And to a few of them, I sent them a picture of their pastor celebrating it. And biglang okay na. So sabi ko, oh, yun lang naman pala eh. Kala ko makakonvince sa Bible.
Yeah, I mean,
pero,
like, that's one of the things that this thing revealed na parang, why do you listen only to pastors?
even as a minister myself speaking, Acts 17, Luke cites the example of the Berean church. And it says that the Bereans were noble
Right, yeah.
because they searched the scriptures for themselves. To be empowered, to think, and to verify, to confirm if what Paul was saying was true.
Yeah.
They were not called, oy, mga rebelde, mga nagmamarunong pa kayo, kala niyo, kayo lang No. In fact, that was a good thing. And in fact, Paul, Peter, and John, and the other people in the Bible, a good minister is one who equips believers to handle the word of God well. Not to say, don't think, just do everything I say.
First question that we want to answer, is it wrong? Should we or should we not celebrate Halloween?
Yeah, so to answer that question, there are shoulds. You should do this. Dapat lahat ng tao ginagawa to. Dapat lahat ng tao, kung totoong anak ka ng Diyos, if you're really a follower of Jesus, nagpapatawad. Dapat lahat ng tao tumutulong sa mahirap. Diba? We should be helping the poor. These are things we all should do. Then there are also the should nots, the things that are wrong for everyone in every situation. It is wrong to idolize, to worship other gods. It is wrong to lie about, speak falsehood about your neighbor. It is wrong to steal, to be greedy, to lust, to hate. These things are all wrong.
Okay.
So, I should not. And in the middle are a lot of I may or I may not.
I may or I may not. And where does celebrating Halloween fall under?
It's definitely in the may or may not category. And here's why. A lot of people want to put it in the should not category. But those people who do that will have to create this huge circle, this huge area that bans just so much, Some people will say, pagan holidays should not be celebrated. Oh man, that's like almost all most of the holidays, even Christmas. Now, some people will take other verses and say things like, what does darkness have in common with light? That's not in terms of attending one party with that, diba? That's in terms of being yoked with an unbeliever. That's the context of that verse. That means you're following a path together, tied together, maybe in business, maybe in marriage, whatever, that you've sworn to follow each other, and that's the context of that verse. And then, where do you draw the line? Diba? Office party.
Exactly.
May mga nalasing. Should you not have been there? People played worldly music. Should you not have? And some people will say, yeah, and that just inhibits so much Christian freedom. Even if it's in the may or may not category, people still feel strongly about it. It's like, no, I really can't, I really won't. And not everyone who objects is judgmental. Also, to understand, some people who object and maybe are very angry with you, with me for doing this, the grace we can extend, some of them, not all, some of them are obviously just angry or hurtful or malicious, self-righteous. But some of them, maybe they came from that past. And it's so, they remember the bondage to sin, the darkness of that memory. So to them, it's just, I cannot even consider it. Just like someone who maybe was an alcoholic and probably won't want to drink anymore, even a single drop. Okay lang naman, the Bible says don't get drunk. There's some times where people are prescribed to have wine. So it's not technically like you can't ever drink, but we can understand, right? If people who came from that past would say, I don't want to drink at all. You were like that for a long time.
I was like that for a long, long time.
In the early years of being a Christian.
Because I came from an alcoholic background. So I just really said no, like a hard no to all the drinking things. But I knew it wasn't because it's sin.
Yeah. It's a personal thing.
It's a personal thing. Mahina ako sa part na yun.
So a great example of what to do when people are different. So we're different, we may or may not, but we both feel very strongly about this. Here, the great news is the Bible has lots of resources about that. 1 Corinthians 8, Romans 14 are great examples of this. And here's what I love about these chapters. And to anyone wrestling with this and open to what the Bible says, you might want to read them and substitute food, eating, with whatever contentious issue that you've heard about. And here's what I love about it. It is the practical working out of what the gospel of Jesus means. If Jesus really died for us, and if we're really saved, and we're not just gonna go to heaven when we die, how differently does it affect our lives today? And that has to do with differences. With people who feel really strongly about something and want to fight. Di lang pang Halloween to, love.
Exactly.
Politics.
A lot,
okay?
a lot. Like drinking, politics.
Generational differences, di ba? Kayo, ito yung gusto nyong gawin sa anak nyo. Yung magulang nyo, iba yung tinuro sa inyo. Yung kapatid mo, iba sa pamumuhay mo. What do we do when there are multiple ways to accomplish something, but they might be equally valid? So the issue here in Romans 14 and 1 Corinthians 8 was food sacrificed to idols. Without going into the history of it, nung panahon kasi na yun, hindi nila alam kung paano prepare yung pagkain yun. And it's possible, maybe even likely, the meat they were buying in the market was previously sacrificed to a false god. Because the gods don't eat it because they're not real. So sayang naman yung karne, back in the market, binibenta at kinakain nila. And in doing that, some Christians said, you know what? I don't care. Hindi naman ako yung nag-alay nun sa kanila. I'm not the one who sacrificed it. I'm just buying it and eating it. Besides, I prayed and thanked God for the food.
Right.
And so it's okay for me to eat this. Other Christians said, that's a little too much for me. You know, like I would rather just abstain completely from all meat. Since I'm not the one who killed that animal, I don't want to eat. They would rather just eat vegetables the whole time. Now you can imagine both sides having very strong positions about this. And it led to a lot of argument and even division in the church. The Bible's response, 1 Corinthians 8 for Paul and Romans 14, is both are valid. Verse 1, accept the one whose faith is weak, without quarreling over disputable matters. Ayan yung disputable, diba? Merong should not, merong should, merong gitna. One person's faith allows them to eat anything, but another whose faith is weak eats only vegetables. Now, interesting, that word weak is not meant to look down on the person, but it's similar to where Peter calls women the weaker sex, meaning the more sensitive, the one that you need to be more gentle with or be more delicate with, simply because this is precious to you. Verse 3, the one who eats everything must not treat with contempt the one who does. Hina mo naman, kumain ka na, diba? Wala namang masama eh. And the one who does not eat everything must not judge the one who does, for God has accepted them. What's the basis for God accepting them? Jesus. Faith in Jesus. Who are you to judge someone else's servant? To their own master, servants stand or fall. And they will stand, for the Lord is able to make them stand. And I think that's a lot of the issue there, where there's so much. Actually, a friend of mine commented and said, bro, this issue really revealed how much fear there still is in the way people do church. And it's fear and control instead of love and trusting the Holy Spirit, faith. Verse 5, one person considers one day more sacred than the other. Another considers every day alike. Each of them should be fully convinced in their own mind. Meaning, hindi ako napipilit lang ng ibang tao. Whoever regards one day as special does so to the Lord. Whoever eats meat does so to the Lord, for they give thanks to God. Whoever abstains does so to the Lord and give thanks to God. For none of us live for ourselves alone. None of us dies for ourselves alone. If we live for the Lord. If we die for the Lord. So whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. So obviously the emphasis here is, are we able to live the Christian life in a way that is pleasing to God? And that's the funny thing here, because a lot of people were talking about how this was such a terrible thing, you know, and opening demonic portals to our family. And yet for us, it was such a beautiful God moment.
Yeah.
It was so
wholesome.
It goes longer. I really recommend reading all of Romans 14 and 1 Corinthians 8. Really helpful to help us see. And it applies for so much. Let's say, I can't imagine how a Christian could possibly have voted for BBM. Or a Christian could possibly have voted for Lenny. These are disputable matters. And I had great conversations, because I mentioned that sa Instagram stories ko about this. And people reached out to me. People who voted for BBM who said, Pastor, hindi ko naman dinideny yung kamalian na ginawa nila, yung crime na ginawa nila. I just preferred his policies. And I felt really judged by self-righteous
Right.
kakampings.
It goes both ways. Oo.
And I said, you know, you're right. There really were a lot of that. And then I also talked to some kakampings who said, Pastor, you know, this issue with you and Rica and the Halloween thing helped me see how self-righteous I was to condemn people. Yun pala yung tunog ko sa kanila. Kung ginagawa nila, ganun pala yung dating ko sa kanila. I want to reconnect with my BBM relatives and family members. Guys, there are bigger things at play. God is more powerful than these issues.
I think the summary of that first point is, we can't put rules where there are really no rules.
Yeah.
I mean, if God really hasn't said that, we cannot force it.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a rule for yourself, it's okay. But we cannot force it on others. Both of us kasi have that background also of being super legalistic before. Na bigay kami ng bigay ng rules sa ibang tao. Na-realize na lang talaga namin afterwards na, rule ba ni God yun? O baka tayo na lang? Diba?
Yeah.
Out of our own fear, pinaproject namin sa kanila.
Yeah.
Alam mo yun na, and we really acknowledge na well-meaning naman kami rin naman well-meaning kami na parang please don't do that. The point is, where there are no rules, we cannot impose that rule for all. So yun yung first thing. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is because when this happened, of course, I was like so hassled na parang, ano ba naman, Lord? Yung magko-costume na lang kami. Ang ganda na ng moment. Na-steal pa nung ganyan, diba? But the good fruit out of it, which, I later on realized, quickly pala. Kasi when I posted it and then people started bashing and then I said what I thought, people started also messaging me. People I knew, people I don't know, na parang, alam mo, sobrang thank you dahil sa'yo naliwanagan ako and all that. And then, many of them too said, sobra akong nabully ng mga leaders ko, ng mga tita ko, ng nanay, tatay ko, na wag ko raw gawin to kasi demonic daw, blah, 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 blah. I think this is the greater reason why we wanted to do this vlog, because it's one thing to like and know for yourself that you're doing something that is right, that there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, and another thing to defend it to people who don't believe the same thing. Kasi minsan, ang hirap. Parang yung storya lang yan ni Philip, paano ka magpupushback lalo na pag mas nakakatanda sa'yo, mas may posisyon sa'yo, di ba? Ang hirap madaling kumausap ng mas, kumbaga mas mababa posisyon sa'yo o mas bata sa'yo. Pero yung mas mataas sa'yo, feeling mo talaga parang, ay baka naman tama sila or huwag ko na lang bang gawin kasi mas baka ma-dishonor sila and all that. So what do you do when people like that disagree, and not only disagree, really scare you to believe that you're wrong, we're right. But you believe in yourself na you have a point.
Siguro i-separate natin yung may healthy disagreement naman kasi talaga. Tapos merong mga, harmful. I think you need people to talk to who you can process with. And I'll use an example from my childhood. Growing up, I grew up in a pastor's home and many of my friends were pastors' kids as well. And so a common theme with our conversations was, is that wrong, bad, are we allowed to do that? Are we gonna play Mortal Kombat? Oh, no one's allowed to play Mortal Kombat. So parang ganun. And I remember as we started to get older, we started to question and ask things. And there was one movie in particular that we watched it, the Bonifacios watched it. And on the way home, my mom, my dad, and my youngest brother didn't like it. They said, oh, that's a bad movie. It's not a good movie. But my middle brother, David, and I both said, I actually liked it. I thought there were good themes. There were good, redemptive, we didn't use these words, no? Pero parang nabawi naman And how could you like it? So it was a long discussion going home. And that was the first time I can remember that the Bonifacios were not unanimous on whether a movie was good or bad. And then I got home, and then their phone rang a few hours later. And it was our friend. And our friend who's also a pastor. And he was calling her, hey, how are you doing? Can I come over? Can we play? Ganun. So yeah, how are you? Tapos sabi niya, have you seen the movie? The movie's Road to Perdition, by the way, starring Tom Hanks, Jude Law. And yeah, we just watched it. Why? And he said, my whole family didn't like it. I said, yeah, my dad and mom and my brother didn't like it either. And he said, I'm the only one in my family who likes it, who thinks that it's got some qualities that redeem the movie. And I said, that's what I was saying. And so you were talking about it. And I think that's what you need. You need an environment where you can talk. You need an environment where you can discuss. Hindi yung automatic tapon na agad, diba? Tapos na agad. In the Basil Williams interview with Piers Morgan, remember that? Basem, yeah. Basil pala. Basem.
Ginawang pagkain. Basem.
He said an environment that does not allow disagreement is an environment for control. And that's really the heart of the issue. Is there a desire to just control? Now, you're being so difficult. If only you would just do what we say, we would control you. That is not a biblical way to respond to things. God himself doesn't respond to people that way. God himself gives people the chance to learn, to make mistakes, because he will be faithful to them. So if that's you, number one, find an environment where you can talk to people about it. That's kind of, honestly, we didn't mind the bashing so much. It happens, it comes and goes. But we were glad to participate in it because it was almost like a flare in the sky to be like, hey, we can talk about this.
Yeah. Maybe online, it looks like, why did they do that? Why did they call that upon their family pa? But the point is, yeah, exactly. I mean, like, this is just online. The next big thing you see online erases whatever there was in the past. Diba? Makakalimutan nyo rin lahat to. Pero, yung win para sa amin ay yung ma-empower namin yung mga tao na, let's have these conversations.
Yeah.
Kasi kung walang konversasyon, palagi na lang tayong living in fear and in doubt. Di natin alam where we stand in things.
Yeah.
And we're always second-guessing ourselves. So, there is a win for us in the certainty that we can give to people. Not in what we stand for, but in their stand, to have that process for themselves.
Yeah. As for me, as a minister and someone who has done that to other people, and I've had to apologize. I'm sorry that happened to you. That is not how Jesus is. And I think that was one of the most helpful things for me personally in processing things that I've heard, that have been spoken over me, or almost like, wow, parang kinakurse na ako ng taong to, that kind of thing, is to go back and say, Jesus, who are you and what are you like? And that's why you need to go back to who Jesus is and what he did for us. And you need people who will help you focus on that. Sadly, which is the messages you got, a lot of people stopped thinking that they could have a relationship with Jesus because nga, medyo gatekeeper.
Marami nag-message sa akin, they left the faith, they left the church. So either they left both, Jesus and the church. Or yung iba naman, church lang yung iniwan nila.
Yeah, and because of the gatekeeper aspect of it. And that's why you need people in your life. And thankfully, because of the internet, I think that's one benefit of the internet, that you can connect with people who you can find that with. And so reach out, look out for people like that. Look for friends that you can talk to. So you and I have been able to connect other people to other churches, not necessarily our own, but as we talk to them to like, hey, why not try this person or that person? Some of you, it's your parents and you're in that home. The Bible does say honor your father and mother and love your father and mother and submit to them. So if it's a disputable matter, so for example, your parents say no drinking in my home, then you obey, you submit. Even though you know deep down that that's still okay, and maybe when you're older, you're gonna become a sommelier, a wine connoisseur, that's fine. But in their home, under their authority, on their budget, you obey.
Yeah.
You submit. But at the same time, you grow also with your faith. I want to say something lang to people like us, people who lead, who tend to overreact. We have to check ourselves, is this coming from a fear or control? And I'm so like that. I mean, with especially...
My gosh, we were so this way.
And until now, with our sons, kasi di ba parang they'll do something bad. And you can tell the disproportionate anger and frustration na, ano ba yan? Yung ito lang naman ginawa ng bata, pero yung anger ko, grabe, ang laki. And a lot of the time, maybe it's really valid. Like kanina lang, Mano was gonna knock over a glass vase from the piano. And Mano, yung ang laki ng reaction ko. Kasi dangerous naman talaga. But not all of my reactions are coming from danger. A lot of them are coming from fear and control. Now, I don't want you to make a bigger mess because I'm not sure if I can clean up that mess. And in that, we need to bring back our own personal faith in God. Lord, do I trust you with the well-being of my children, with the well-being of my wife, the well-being of the church? Lahat na lang ba kailangan kong bantayan? And when we lift that up to God, maybe we should still speak, but the tone, the choice of words, the timing, all of that will be tempered by love already and faith instead of fear and control.
I'm just gonna say this to close the thing, no? Na what he's saying, na parang let's watch out for that in ourselves. These people who saw us celebrating Halloween and all, parang sinasabi nila, watch out, parang don't do that, like, demonic thing and all that, no? And there is wisdom in, like, knowing what to do and what not, right? But also, I guess we have to watch out for how we are. Because in the whole process, I even got one threat saying that, be careful because these ultra-conservatives might hurt your kid. And when I opened this person's message, she was really, really mad at me. And it really felt like if she could, she would have killed me. Flashback right away. How many times do people stone in the Bible? Diba? Stone sinners or like kill? I mean, like, just think of Jesus, diba? How did he get killed? People can kill for this righteous kuno-kuno anger, diba? The question is it even a real and valid anger? Or is it a personal preference that is just so strong in you and you're trying to impose on others? And, that's, pinag-usapan na natin yan. Yung point ko lang, bakit tayo aabot sa point na gusto na nating magalit at manakit ng ibang tao? Let's watch out for that. Ganun na ba tayo ka in fear and also in desperate of control?
Or even to wish harm on people.
Grabe.
Let's use an example that we were in the camp of. Diba? The people who voted for Lenny Robredo. And when BBM won, bahala kayong mahihirap. Pag kayo namulubi na, why would you wish? I thought this was about helping the nation. I thought this was about love. I thought this was for the poor. Why are you now mad at the poor? Something got twisted along that way, diba? Na, this isn't love. This is self-righteous. This is his pride. And I'm not saying everybody was like that. A lot of them are still continuing the work that she started and she's still doing it because it's really about love. May na-expose lang sa hearts ng iba nung may kumontra sa kanila.
That's it. I guess for me, my stand in disputable matters, even if it comes from something that wasn't originally from God. The origin does not determine the end. For me, I think that's the one thing that I love God so much for. He is such a redemptive God, and that is what I saw about Halloween. What I saw, especially in the place that we went to, was just like a bunch of people with their kids, families having fun. And to me, that is the redemptive power of God. I will not forget this. A friend of ours said, siguro pag naririnig ni Satanas lahat ng to na parang this day is the devil's day, parang, uy, may araw pala ako. Na-flatter pa siya na binibigyan natin siya ng araw. Which, she had a very good point. Because I was like thinking, that is so right. Because not even this day,
No.
I want to give to the devil. No,
Yeah.
this day is the Lord's day. Like, He is still working. Okay, not all places are redeemed. That is very obvious. But in places where He does, and is very obvious, why will we not claim that,
Yeah.
right? And we will continue doing that for as long as I live, as we live. We're gonna continue being a part of God's redemptive plan in the world. I
Yeah.
hope this is useful for all. To those who, if you don't really believe in this, it's alright. It's alright also. Huwag lang kayong manakit. Bye, guys.
Bye.